Alright guys, welcome to another episode of Rocket Vlogs. In this one, I'm doing a build and review of the Performance Hobbies 6-inch Der Red Max kit. When I found out about this kit, they were long sold out. As far as I know, since they were first sold out, Ken hasn't restocked them. My friend Jim Scarpine had one and I immediately knew I had to have one. I'm a big fan of the Red Max, and as my rocketry forum handle would tell you, I'm a big fan of upscales in general. So I have this one, I have the 4-inch AMW one, and I also have the Wildman 5-inch Goblin. So immediately off the bat, you can see this big huge nose cone over here. My favorite part of this kit is this nose cone. I love that they made these special aluminum tips so that it would be rounded properly like a Red Max nose cone. I believe the AMW one is like that as well. Perfect. Really tickles my fancy. You're looking at the same person who built a Mad Cow Mozzie and put a big BT5 tube on the side of it so it would look like it had a launch look, like it was just a direct upscale version. So when I found out these were out of sale, I immediately put out an SOS for anyone that might have one and be willing to part with it, and Brian Powell out in Virginia was in that exact scenario. So he sold me this kit, and it took him a while to send it, which I'm not bitter about because he was snowed in. He's in Virginia. Initially I was like, oh, where's this thing at, man? But he explained the situation, so it was all good. And very cool guy also sent me tons of Kevlar for the shock cord, 1-inch Kevlar ribbon, and this CTI Pro 75 3-grain case, and a full sticker shock decal set for it. So thank you very much, Brian, for your patronage. It's been sitting for far too long, so I decided it was time to start building it. And I'm impatient and didn't feel like shooting, and I started the assembly. You guys have seen plenty of gluing stuff and sanding stuff, so all I did was get the top centering ring where I wanted it and put a U-bolt in there for my recovery harness. Unfortunately, I just made it sound like you guys aren't about to watch a bunch of sanding and gluing stuff together, but that's exactly what you're about to see. And with this kit, I'm going to do something I've never done before. I'm going to do the old masking tape on the centering ring trick, so I can pull the back centering ring out after the front centering ring is cured and sufficiently attached to the body tube, and pull the ring out and do some internal fillets on the fins. So the first thing I'm going to do is take some 80 grit sandpaper, sand the whole motor tube, sand the roots of the fins, and sand the bases of the fins, both where the internal fillets and external fillets will be. So let's start sanding. So this is a trick I learned from the crazy Jim Hendrickson. You just put a little masking tape on the rear centering ring, gives you a little pull tab so you can glue this one in place and then pull the back one off to do some internal fillets once your fins are on. This is why I love big kits. This is definitely a what I like to call sand to fit kit. At least the centering rings work. Nice thing about using super glue with fiberglass kits is it's not in the right spot. You just go down, break or loose. Alright, all the fins are tacked in place, so you can see it standing up over here, and I'm going to do some internal fillets. Never done it this way before, so my plan is kind of just lay it in there, tilt the rocket forward, and then let it sit flat. Made myself a little holding jig to do the fins, so I'm going to use that again for this. Just using my old standby West Systems with some chopped carbon fiber. So this is my setup. Got these weird Velcro zip ties holding it all on this box, and pretty good angle, I'd say, for some fillets. So let's do it. Now while I'm mixing, I'm going to talk about my plan here, because a lot of people reiterate that the idea of a good internal fillet is basically to link the motor mount tube to the airframe tube, which is a new idea to me, if I'm honest. Basically, for the fin to be flat, you want epoxy, a good layer of epoxy from here to here. Now, being that this is such a short rocket, I hadn't intended on doing very big internals in the first place, hence only using 3 pumps of epoxy. I don't want to do that. I don't want to add a ton of weight to the rear end of this thing, so my goal here is just to basically have tiny external fillets running up the entire length of the fins, and that should give me the added durability I'm needing. I'm not concerned about breaking the fins off, even external only. The biggest problem this rocket's gonna have to face is fin flutter, which there could easily be a lot of. But like I said, I'm not super worried about the internal fillets being, you know, an immovable force. They're just there for peace of mind more than anything. I would highly advise putting some tape in your motor tube or something, like I haven't done here, and I just dripped epoxy in there. So to avoid that, I would recommend you do something like that. I'm gonna have to clean this up. And that reminds me, I was at the store about 20 minutes ago, and acetone is what I was going to buy and didn't. So this is why I like using very slow drying epoxy for applications like this. I can come down here and clean up all this nonsense. Alright, so here's what we're working with. It's fairly consistent down each side, plenty of coverage. So I'm gonna go ahead and call that good. Like I said, they're definitely gonna add some rigidity to this thing. And they don't look perfect, but they don't need to because they are on the inside of the rocket. So I guess I'll just have to repeat this process a few times. I'm sure you guys don't want to watch it every time. So let me cut to me talking. Alright guys, so thus far I am loving this kit. Like I said, it would be hard for me not to because I'm a huge fan of Upscale SD's kits, and I'm even bigger fan of the Red Max and the Goblin. Now I just need a big mosquito, and I know Ken sells those too, so we'll get there eventually. I gotta kind of put a dent in the build pile I already have before I start buying more stuff, which reminds me I have a really exciting kit coming. Very, very big exciting kit that's going to be super fun to build. But for now, I'll just wrap this one up. I love this thing. It's great. The 3/16 inch fins, all fiberglass construction is always wonderful. This thing will take an M if you put a quick enough burning one in it. You don't want to just keep consistent speed and rip those fins apart. Something like an M1780 would probably be perfect in this thing. Jim Scarpine actually flew the 3-grain L that goes in this. I believe it's an L780 skid mark, or one of the L's that goes in there, I guess. And very cool flight. I'll link to the video here. It's on Tom Binford's channel. But I want to say thanks again to Brian for hooking up with this kit, and I appreciate all the extras you sent. Next weekend we are going to NXRS, Northwest Extreme Rocket Show, up in Brothers, Oregon. So I'm very excited for that event. I hope to see some of you guys there, and I hope you're excited to see the footage I'm going to shoot. We're hoping we'll be able to put the drones up and get some cool aerial footage. We'll have to talk to the club beforehand. But in the meantime, we will see you guys in the next episode of Rocket Vlogs. Thank you for watching.